Welcome to this lesson. In this lesson, we will be interacting or doing both the interaction and the configuration with the OpenAI APIs. So let's go to Visual Studio Code. And now we will first obtain the API key. Of course, the API key, you go to the platform, then you go at the top right to manage account, and then you go to API keys. Now you cannot see it because it has been created before. So when you go and create a new key, make sure to copy it here because you will not see it anywhere else. Of course, I have already copied it previously. So let me now go and use this API key. Okay, so I will go to this env file. I will add the code for the OpenAI. So this is OpenAI key. It's the name of the environment variable, and this is the value of the environment variable. Okay, now let's go to the OpenAI config file where we will obtain the API key and initialize the configuration object and the OpenAI API object. Okay, so the first step, we will require OpenAI object and the configuration object from the OpenAI library, which we installed before. Okay, now let me go and import the .environment. This is the module that we imported or that we required in order to access the environment variables. So here we require it and we initialize it. That will make any file or any key inside the env file available on the process object. Okay, then we will go and initialize the configuration object. This is the configuration object in which we will specify the organization and the API key. So let me first go and bring the organization information. So if we go back to here, if you go to the settings, you will see the organization ID is available here. Let's go back to Visual Studio Code, and here we will specify this organization. Of course, it is optional, but it is very well recommended to always use it. Okay, let's now specify the API key. So this is the API key. We are reading it from the environment variable. This is the key of the environment variable. It's available on the process env information because we require .env and installed it, and we have .env object. Everything on this .env file is available on the process.env object. Okay, now let's initialize the OpenAI object. So this is the OpenAI object. We required it here. This is the configuration object that we just initialized here. So we are creating a new OpenAI object with this configuration. Of course, now this is stored on the OpenAI variable. I will now export this. So I'm doing that now. So this is the export to OpenAI. Now this OpenAI object, which is ready, will be used in all our controllers. And so let's actually go and create our controller. So it is inside the controllers folder. I will call it emotion controller .js. Let me make sure I spelled it correctly. Emotion controller. Yeah, that's correct. Now here we will include the OpenAI config class. Okay, so let's import it. Now you see we imported this file. We have the OpenAI object now available for us in the project. Okay, and now let's create the function that will take the prompt and the emotions and will make the call to the OpenAI APIs. And now let's export it. Now, given the emotions, I will create a local variable with the content of the system role. So here, as you can see, that I created this variable system role. these are backticks because we are using Java variables inside the string. So this and this are backticks. You are capable of analyzing the sentiment of a given text. You will classify the sentiment of a given text into only one of these emotions, and these are the past emotions. And then after classifying the text, respond with just one emotion. So this is the prompt that we are going to send it as a system prompt to the API call. Okay, then let's define the user prompt. The user prompt is simple. The text to analyze is and specifying this text. So the emotions went to the system prompt because that's what telling the controller or the API behave in a certain manner. So we want it to behave as an emotion analyzer, so we set the expectation in the system prompt. Then the user prompt is whatever we are given from the user and waiting for response or completion for it from the AI. Okay, then I will define the messages list, which has two objects. The first object is of role system, and it contains the system prompt in the content value. The second object is the user role, and it contains the user prompt. Then we will actually use the OpenAI object to perform the call to the AI. So here we are using the OpenAI, which we got back from OpenAI config file. We are calling ChatCompletion await because this takes time, so we need to wait for it. And here is the returned response. Then we need to specify the model name, which is in our case GPT 3.5 Turbo. We then pass the messages object with the messages key. Then we specify a temperature of 0. Of course, we don't want any randomness. We need the exact answer. And when we know that there should be an exact one answer, then we specify a very low temperature or 0 because we don't want any randomness or creativity. And finally, we specify the max tokens. It will be just one. We already told him to respond with just one of the emotions. So 128 should be much more than sufficient. We will print the response. Of course, the response has data choices because we could have asked for multiple responses, which doesn't make sense in our case. And then the message key, content key, it contains what the AI bot has returned, which is hopefully the sentiment or the emotion from this list. Okay, let's now go to the playground file and import the new function. So here from the emotion controller, we are importing get analyze, GPT analyze emotion. Okay, I have just got some code to try. The emotions, I specified it to positive, neutral, and negative. And here I specified this prompt, AI will take over the word. So let's try and test it. So I'm calling the function prompt emotions. These are the emotions. Here is the prompt, and we are calling this function, of course. Of course, this function, remember, will print out the return value. So let me try here. I will do node play. Okay, so it responded to us with the statement negative, and that's the emotion because this is a bad emotion. Okay, let me go back to the emotion controller to complete it. So first I will comment out this. Okay, now in the OpenAI controller, I will comment this out. I will bring, or I will get the content in the variable. So this is the content string read in a variable. Okay, then let me check if the content is empty. I will put content not available. And finally, I will just return the content variable. So now we are complete with this emotion controller. I will just go and test it again in a couple of examples in the playground file. Okay, so back into the playground area. Let me just get some tests that we will try together. So I'll comment this out. These are the emotions. And now I want to change the prompt to this. And here is the call to the API. Of course, the API returns a promise because it takes some time to complete. So that's why I attach a then clock, and then I provide an anonymous function that will be called with the emotion returned from the file, the function when it is available. Of course, we are passing the prompt and the emotions which we have defined above. And then we just console log an uppercase value. Let me save this. Let me try again. Okay, as you can see, I have most amazing day, so that's positive, so that seems to work. Let us try the other one. My flight was delayed, which seems to be negative, so let me try that. Okay, it is negative. And there's a third one, which I hope it will be classified as neutral, because I just received the package and it was wrapped in a brown paper. So we are just telling an information. There shouldn't be any emotion with this. So again, save and try. And yes, it is neutral. Okay, so that's for this session where we have done all the interaction with the OpenAI APIs. Next, we will be doing the Express application. We will convert the application to an Express application, expose this function as an REST API, and test that with Postman.